faces, young faces, and I don't know, 14 days. How on earth do you decide with no exhibition games? What is this camp going to be like?
Well, it's certainly going to be a little bit different than other years. Normally you have basically 3.5 weeks between your time before exhibition games and the exhibition seasons to get ready. And, so it's going to be different. I think it's enough time for us to get ready. We're basically serving two purposes here at camp once we get started. Number one is to get ourselves as ready as humanly possible for game one as a team. And number two is figuring out which guys are earning what ice time. And, you alluded to it earlier, we have a whole bunch of fresh faces. And so we have to make sure we have to value practices. We're going to have internal scrimmages, and we're going to have to place great valuation on those in order to make those decisions on who's earning power play ice time, who's earning PP ice time, who's earning 5-on-5 ice time, who's earning spots on the team. All those things have to be figured out in that 2-week period, and then we also have to make sure our group's ready, the group that's going to play game one. So we've got a plan going into it. We had a couple different scenarios we were ready for, and the number of days is similar to what I anticipated. And honestly, I just think we're all looking forward to it. Looking forward to I don't care how much time they give us. I want to coach, and our guys want to play.
Jeff, real quick, just given the uncertainty surrounding the AHL, how much of an advantage can it be to have a taxi squad? And also, I'm not entirely clear on who has been recalled from Europe. Who's your third string goalie?
Well, right now, I'll let camp kind of work that out. I'll talk to the first one, the first part of it first, in terms of. I wouldn't call it an advantage because everybody in the league is got the same thing. So it's a necessity, I think, given the protocols surrounding COVID, the potential of guys getting ill with COVID and/or the contact tracing, where you could have multiple guys out in a short notice, and you need players that are ready to jump into those spots. So I think that the taxi squad ultimately is more of a necessity, and I think we like the other 30 teams in the league are going to try to use it to the best of our ability to make sure that it's seamless when guys step into play. I in terms of the goaltenders, we'll see who ends up being that third guy. Calvin Pickard is over. C's playing right now. He'll come back at some point here. Boyle, we signed to a contract. He's competing for a spot, so we'll see. We'll see which guys grab those spots. But that's that'll be determined later on.
Oh, okay, but just so Boyle is for now the third string.
I didn't say that. No, I think Pick wants that spot. Boyle wants that spot, and we'll have to see which guy we feel is in the best position to be in that, and whether that's there's just a whole lot of unknowns, Celine. So we're going to take it day by day, and we'll take all the information we have, whether it's how guys are playing in practice, whether it's their history, whether it's how Pick played overseas. We'll take all the information in and make decisions on who we think is best served to be in that number 3 spot.
Well, it's not training camp until you give us a day by day, Jeff. So thank you. I appreciate it.
To that. Yep, no problem.
Our next question is from Ted Colton with the Detroit News.
Hey, Jeff, how you doing? Happy holidays.
Yeah, to you as well, Ted.
Hey, talk about the divisional alignment and the unique challenges, pros and cons, I guess, of playing those teams. Just so 7 or 8 teams here, 7 or 8 games a year. I mean, how challenging is that going to be?
Different. It's different. I think there's probably like you said, pros and cons to it. I think everybody's in a similar boat. So obviously it's equal in that sense that we're all playing the same opponents all year long, and you're going to play them a number of times. And it's I've been in similar kind of situations in my coaching past. Certainly in the American League, we played the same teams as I think up to like 10, 11 times in a year. So that's real similar. The teams in our division, the Milwaukee's, the Chicago's, we used to play them all the time. and you really get to know each other well. You get to, the pre-scouting becomes less important, and honestly, just your own game becomes more important. It would be similar to in college when you play the same team back to back, whether it's back to back nights or the same team with a day of rest in between. It's the same type of thing as that, college or really the NHL playoffs. And so, it's different. Usually when you're going through the season, it's a new pre-scout every night. You're not necessarily making adjustments from one game to the next because of the fact you're playing a different opponent, where in these 2-game sets, which is all but I think one of them, or 2 of them, I guess, where there are 2-game sets from what we've seen in the schedule. Now, you have an opportunity to potentially make adjustments as a coaching staff. And those aren't huge adjustments, maybe like the sport of football, but they are adjustments that can matter. And so it'll be fun. It'll be great, to be honest with you. It'll be fun to be a part of and see if we can't, help give our group as good a possible position to win that second game as we can.
Hey, Jeff, just one more. As a position group, how excited are you about where your defense is, how much it's changed and evolved since last season? How are you guys stronger on defense this time around?
Well, we'll get a chance to prove whether we're stronger, until you prove it on a night-to-night basis. We'll see. I think ultimately we added a number of guys. I think we have a lot of players who I would say are good players, guys that ultimately – I'm a big believer in guys going out and especially at the defense position, playing solid hockey. I think the best defensemen are the ones who are most efficient, who make good, solid plays without making a whole lot of mistakes. And I think sometimes you can make some wow plays on D, but if you're erratic, it's really hard to win that way. Where if you do a good job of just making good, solid decisions in the 18, 19 minutes you play, you're giving yourself a real good chance to win. So, I think we've got guys that are with us that'll be in training camp that are going to give us a chance to be a better D-corps. But we got to be better in all aspects of our game. So it's not just simply that position, but I do think we have an opportunity to. Now we got to go prove it.
Thanks, Jeff.
Our next question is from Brad Galley with WXYZ.
Jeff, good to see you at Little Caesars Arena instead of your home answering questions from us.
Same, Brad.
I'm excited to get back there with you. And I know last year you said multiple times to us it was the toughest hockey season of your career. What kind of excitement level do you have entering a season with a clean slate and a 0-0 record?
Yeah, certainly it was. There was a hard year to go through a year ago, but I would say this, like what this 10-month pause, break, whatever it's been, is done for all of us probably is, I think I have a pretty good perspective in general, but it certainly gives you a chance to reset your perspective and understand that there's a grind to the NHL just like there's a grind to any job, and there's reality of that. But I think like we're pretty fortunate. We get a chance to coach in the NHL. We get a chance to play in the NHL. Let's make sure we cherish every moment of it. And I think sometimes when you have something that's happened, as did, where all of a sudden you can't do it for 10 months, your appreciation of it can only grow, and it certainly has grown. Just to make sure that we're enjoying the every day of the NHL, we're enjoying the competition, we're enjoying trying to beat the very best in the world. And so, I think we're excited about that. I certainly know from our players' perspective, there's a hunger there. There's a hunger to play, and the slate is totally clean. It's just the reality of what New Year brings, and we've got a clean slate, and let's bring that hunger to the rink every single day.
What have you learned? I know you're always studying other sports and other teams and always looking at different things around just any sport. From watching for so long, for so many months now, what have you learned from observing other sports, whether it's been in the bubble or whether it's just been in competition across the leagues during this pandemic?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I've certainly had a chance to be in conversation with a lot of different people, both in the hockey world and not in the hockey world. And, I was with a small group of different coaches and analytics people that were on did some different studies into the game of soccer and the similarities and is there better ways to practice. And so, we've taken some of those lessons and tried to adapt those to how we practice with our group and some of the things we want to do better, similar to that sport. I've had a chance to talk to people in the NFL world and how they managed COVID and in the protocols and all the things that go into that to try to minimize risk and exposure. First off, for your team and for your the employees within our group, the coaches, the trainers, everybody, but also minimize the number of games missed. Ultimately, how well you police yourself, how good a job you do at keeping social distance, at wearing masks, and doing those things. That can be the difference between who's available to play and who's not, which obviously can dictate winning and losing. So, it's been a really wide range of lessons and a wide range of conversations I've had with people in different sports, and it might be about different ways to practice or different ways to maybe play, like I said, with the soccer comparison, or even speaking to people who've gone through this. I've got a number of friends in college hockey too, who are going through the new challenges that we're all facing, and so they've kind of told me different ways that they've tried to put their people in the best position possible, first to be safe, and two, to make sure that they can play.
Thanks.
Our next question is from Max Bultman with The Athletic.
Hey, Jeff. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too, Max.
Hey, you were talking about how important scrimmages will be to carving out roster spots and roles, and I'm curious how it will be affected by, you're going to have 4 or 5 guys coming over who have been playing real games for at least a couple months now. How does that impact kind of your evaluation and your assessment as you're watching guys who are maybe having their first live games in a while, live scrimmages, I guess?
Yeah, and there's everybody's had their own challenges to be ready for this season, and certainly there's a group of guys that have skated and together here in Detroit and skated pretty hard, I think, from what they've told me for a while, and I think that they feel like they're in great shape. And are they game ready? You can't replicate actual games, and I think for the most part, our guys that have been here have been in smaller groups, so that's really hard to replicate. So to say that they're totally game ready would be false. I know they have worked extremely hard to put themselves in top physical condition and be as ready as they can be. And so they've been doing that. Then there's the guys, as you said, that have been playing over in Europe that have had that benefit, I think, a big benefit of having played. And, if I'm those players, I'm confident that hopefully it's given me an advantage coming into camp. Now, I will also say, though, then those guys had to come over and had to quarantine for a good number of days. And so now they got to get their legs back going in these next couple of days before camp starts. So everybody's got their unique challenges. All I can do is judge what I see in this camp, what I know from the history, whether it's what they've done for us, what they've done in other places. That's all you can judge by, is you take the information in and you make the best decision you can. And then, the other thing I'd say, and I think we've learned this as we've gone through this pandemic, is you have to be decisive in the decision you make, but you also have to be okay to gather more information and make a different decision as you see fit. And that's just the reality of it. So it's gonna be fluid as we go through the season. We're going to try to figure out who's going to give us the best chance to win game 1, and then we're going to continue to judge as we go through.
Is Danny DeKeyser 100% ready to go? And are there any other players that are there any players that you're expecting to miss any time at the start of this?
I anticipate Danny DeKeyser being ready for camp. Now Danny's been out a long time, more than anybody really, and he's coming off a major surgery. So, I don't know that I'd put a percentage on where Danny's at. I can't answer that. I'd let Danny answer that. But I know that no matter, even if he feels absolutely perfect and 100%, he feels that way still. Has been a long time since he's played, and it's going to, take a while to get the kinks. So it's not, I don't think for me to envision that the Danny DeKeyser that started last year will be the exact same Danny DeKeyser that starts this year. I think that would be very wishful thinking on my part. I think we got to expect Danny to work himself back into all those game situations. And I know we've all been off a long time, but Danny's been off a long time and had major surgery. So we'll see. I do anticipate Danny being ready for camp. I don't, at this point today, anticipate anybody not being ready for camp. But again, this is, as Helene said, you'll hear it more than ever. It's a day-to-day world that we live in now. So, you might come in one day and 3 guys might have to sit because they have potential symptoms, and you're just waiting to see what those symptoms, if they become a positive COVID test or not. And we're just going to have to be fluid with that and be ready for the different challenges that come our way.
Awesome. And then last thing from me, to Brad's point about last season, usually by the first time we're talking to you in a year, you've already kind of had a chance to address the team and kind of set the tone, I guess, for training camp. What do you anticipate your message will be to everybody on resetting and, I guess, turning the page on last year?
The advantage of this for us is that last year was so long ago that we're not gonna really dive a whole bunch into necessarily last year. We're looking to what our expectations are day one of camp, what our expectations are in terms of what's important, what's most important to us from a identity standpoint, and our expectations in terms of how we want to play hockey. And honestly, I've had a chance to address that with a number of the guys. I've gotten real good at this Zoom, so we've been able to use some Zoom conversations to make sure guys are ready for camp, and then we'll attack day one and just try to get better here during day one of camp.
Thank you.
Our next question is from Ansar Khan with MLive.
Hi, Jeff. Just the additions of Ryan and Nemesnikov, how much more options and flexibility does that give you in forming a top 6 up front? And also just, the lack of exhibition games this year, does that change how you approach assembling your lines? Are you more apt to kind of stick with the combinations that you start with just to build chemistry, or will you continue just experimenting throughout the scrimmages?
I would say I'll handle the last question first. I would say that we will, to the best of our ability, try to get lines that seem to make sense and stick with them the best we can. We'd love if the lines we put together in the first scrimmage stayed together, and we had great success with each line as we went through it. And if you do that, then you obviously stay with it. Where you at times make decisions to look for tweaks to lines or change lines, or when things aren't quite working, whether it's for that line or for the hockey team. But, I think chemistry matters a lot. I think chemistry on lines matter a lot. And so the more time they can get together, I think that the better. With Vladdy and with Bobby, we added a couple players who I think ultimately can add more offensive depth to our lineup. Certainly Bobby Ryan's been an elite scorer in this league at different points in his career, and he's hungry and ready to prove that he still is. And, I talked to Vladdy a lot, and I think Vladdy's a real interesting player who I think came into the league as a real offensive player, and he's really grown to appreciate the defensive side of the puck and the importance of being a two-way player. And what that says to me is you're getting a guy at the right time. You're getting a guy that understands what winning means, and that two-way play is ultimately what leads to winning. And Vladdy has a real ability to play in a lot of different positions. He can play up and down your lineup. He can play all 3 forward positions. He can play in the power play. He can play on the penalty kill, and that just gives you lots of depth throughout your lineup. I think with Bobby Ryan, and then we re-signed Sam Gagne, but he was just here at the end of last year. It's 2 right shot guys that are potential and improbable power play guys. So now it gives you a little more attack options off your power play, which I think can give you a chance to have a more successful power play. So we've got to have more scoring depth throughout our forward line group for sure. We got to get more out of more people. We cannot be a one-line team, which we were too many times last year. And so, I think those additions give us a chance to add more scoring punch.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yep.
Our next question is from Nick Katsunika with NHL.com.
Hey, Jeff, hope you're well. Piggybacking on the last one, like when you're sketching out your lines and pairings, like on a napkin, where is it really difficult just with all the new pieces, and where are your biggest sort of question marks or opportunities in this lineup?
Well, I guess I would say opportunities first. Like, we need guys. Ultimately, as I just said, we need more out of more people, and so there's opportunities to grab ice time on any of those lines besides Larkin's line, because we need more. And I find it I think there's a lot of question marks because you don't know for sure how guys are going to be. You don't know for sure how guys are going to mesh. You don't know any of those things. So when you have a whole bunch of new people, you probably have a lot of question marks. You have a lot of unknowns. But that doesn't necessarily make it a bad thing. That can be a great thing. I've walked into years where I had no idea what we're going to get either from the group or from certain individuals. It ended up being great. There's very few times I think where you can walk in with certainty of what your group's going to give you. So again, we want to try to put people in the position to succeed. We want to try to establish identities on each line. So we'd like players that can play with like players where their thought process of how they play the game is good, so we can develop that chemistry fast. And that's what we're going to do. And there's tons of opportunity on our group. We ultimately need more out of more people. And so those that give it to us will get that ice time.
Our next question is from Larry Lage with the Associated Press.
Hi, Jeff. Hope you're well. How thankful are you that you're in this seat again? Not many coaches, have the patience that this franchise has had with the entire, organization. But usually it's easy to switch out a coach. Obviously, the Red Wings haven't with a couple different general managers. I guess just how thankful are you that you still have this job and have a shot to help get this team turned around?
First, Larry, I thought you were talking about this seat, and I thought you were referring to the fact that I'm staring at right now a whole bunch of empty seats and you guys on the screen as well. And I was going to tell you, I was super thankful. No,
I thought you were going to talk about you getting a haircut like me.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I've had this haircut. My kids think this is an actual haircut. I had to explain to them this is just what happens over time. Just wait, son, to age. In terms of appreciating the position I'm in and appreciating the job, and certainly, I'm very aware of what our record's been, and it hasn't, from a wins and loss standpoint, hasn't been nearly good enough. I appreciate every day that I get to coach hockey. Like I get to coach hockey for a living. If you think about that, that's a pretty special thing. I think a lot of people would say they'd like to do and have the opportunity to do the job that I do, and it's a super fun and rewarding job, and to do it in the NHL in the highest league at the very highest level against the very best is awesome. And I think appreciating every day in this league is a huge thing. The fact that our organization has made decisions that have kept me here in the position I'm in, I think says one thing is we understand that this is there's no quick fixes here. That's just not the reality of what happens in sports, and especially in the position we're in, and we're trying to get to a better tomorrow. And I've committed to our group that we're not taking any shortcuts. There's no chance that we're going to try to win a game on January 14th that to do that will hurt us in the long run. We're going to try to do things right, to build this the right way, and I'm committed to that. And every day, again, I get a chance to be a hockey coach and a coach in the NHL. I think it's a great day.
All right, and our last question will be from Trevor Thompson with Fox Sports Detroit.
Hey, Blash, it's good to see you. I hope that everything is well with you and your family and everybody down at the rink. Looking forward to getting back together again. Yep. I know you've been watching the World Juniors, and I'm just wondering what mental notes or what stood out for you about the prospects that the Red Wings have that are playing in the tournament from what you've seen so far.
Trevor knows I've been watching the World Juniors because he was very quick to have a wager with me with Canada versus the field. So he's very confident for all those that are out there on Canada's prospects. I've watched it, Trevor. To say that it's a little bit difficult to see everything you want to see on TV. When you don't know all the players great. And so, I think when you know the players great, it's way easier to watch and be able to see how they're playing. And a team like Sweden has so many guys that you're kind of watching and you're seeing bits and pieces of guys as they make plays. I think the World Juniors is a great tournament. I think it's an unbelievably exciting tournament. I think some guys go there and have great tournaments and people get really, really excited, and sometimes too overexcited, and sometimes kids go there and have struggle in the tournament, and people probably overvalue that too. Like in the end, it's a great tournament. It's one step in the process of trying to become an NHL player, to try to become somebody that's going to help the Red Wings. So again, this is a long journey to becoming an NHL player and to helping the Red Wings be better. We'll just keep watching and enjoying it. So for the most part, for the World Junior, I'm just watching and enjoying hockey on the screen and getting my mind ready to watch hockey on a regular basis, which is great.
And looking forward to hearing the Canadian anthem when it's all over. I know we are. Good seeing you, Blash.
We'll see. Yeah.